everybody. Welcome to another episode of Creating Cultures that Outperform with Terri and Frank. We're so glad you could join us today. We know we had like 45 people signed up, ready to go. So, welcome, everybody. Thrilled to have you. Today, we have a super important topic. It is a tool that every leader has at their disposal. It is powerful. It is one of the most powerful tools you can have. And it's the biological roots of leading by example, why it works, why it's so important, why it matters. I'm Frank Warner. I'm the founder of People Productive. We help companies create cultures that outperform by using the time, talent, energy of their people most effectively. Tara?
Hello, and I'm Terry Mays. I'm a certified culture engineer with emphasis on helping people bring out the best in their employees.
So this is a very important topic, right, Tara? This is really
Yes.
everything. Most people operate unaware of the power they have. Everything they do is being witnessed and seen by the people around them. The more power you have in an organization, whether it be through influence as an individual contributor or as a leader at different levels, that influence is really what drives whether people are going to mirror and copy what you do. People look to their leaders to really understand what is the right way to behave and act to fit in here. And so everything you do, you are leading by example. And your culture is a mirror, it is a reflection of who you are and the culture you've created, because culture happens whether you do it intentionally or you just let it unfold. It happens in every organization, every sports team, everywhere. It is the leaders and it is the example they're setting that is becoming the de facto culture.
That's right. That's right. And we're glad to see Shantae has joined us. Shantae is a good friend of mine. But this is a very important topic. The leadership, like we've said before, the leadership owns the culture in the room. There's no question about it. So if you see a toxic culture in an organization, that is a direct reflection of what the leaders are doing. People will take their lead and their cue off of what is acceptable and what's not
Mhm.
acceptable based on what the leadership is doing. So this is a
Yes.
really important topic.
This is a really important topic. And, we always like to look at the science behind it. All of these things matter because they're human biology at the end of the day. This is the way everything works. This is the way people are wired. So, we're going to look at an experiment from the early 1960s by Albert Bandura. It ended up being called social learning theory. But what you're going to see is an adult in a room with a doll, basically a large blow up doll. It was called Bobo the Doll, and it became the Bobo the Doll experiment ultimately. And they ran this multiple times with this adult or authority figure, doing things with this doll. One case doing things that are a little violent, other cases, playing very nicely. And it was interesting. And this was groundbreaking research that actually challenged a lot of common ideas people had at the time. And let's take a look at it because in an organization, leaders and influencers are the people who others are copying. And this is the most powerful tool leaders have. Actually, they may not even be aware of it. So you have to consciously become aware of the example you're setting. So fabulous. Hey, Marcelo, why don't we get right into it? Thank you. Okay. So here we see an adult coming into a room. There are children in the room that you can't see. This is the original film of the experiment. And, this adult comes in and begins to rough up this doll. It was thought at the time that when people witnessed violence or saw a lot of violence, that in fact they had gotten their fill and nothing would happen. So this was an experiment, happened to be on aggression. It's been done with other things. And what you find is that now here's the kid, the lady has left the room actually. And what they were stunned to see is that the child started mirroring everything this woman did and actually took it to a new level. He was very creative in terms of how he beat this Bobo the doll up. And it happened with all the children, but it didn't happen when they didn't model those behaviors. The kids didn't do anything violent to Bobo the doll. And so this was incredibly telling and incredibly powerful. I don't know, Terry, you have any comment to add to that or?
Yes, absolutely. Cecily hit it on the head. So true that the child is mimicking what they see. And this we know holds true in family situations where children are raised in homes where there's a lot of violence. You tend to have children that are violent. But this especially plays itself out in the workplace with leadership. People are looking to see what the leaders are doing, how they respond to their people. And as a result, they will respond in the same way. So if you have a caring leader, you tend to have people that are a little bit more caring in how they respond to each other. They're not necessarily a whole lot of toxicity in that organization. When you have leaders that step up, they own the culture, they take care of the people, they make sure that people know that the leader has their back and that they're going to fight for them, they're going to do what is necessary to help them. They feel like people want to feel like the culture is safe, where they can trust their leaders, where they don't feel like their leaders are constantly doing things behind their back without their acknowledgement, and then not sharing why they're making the decisions they're making. All those things are things that people just don't like about organizations. We know from some of our previous talks that people don't leave companies, they leave managers. They
Yeah.
leave toxic situations. If they feel like they're not being useful, that they can no longer do the things that bring them joy, that they are just kind of doing busy work all the time, then all of that, those are just reasons that people walk away from companies.
Yeah, without a doubt, when, you look at this great resignation that's going on and people are leaving because their emotional needs haven't been met, their need to achieve things, their need to be accepted and included. This stuff, this really matters, and this is actually the leaders using the people as a tool, not as a human being, to accomplish something. Their execution focus, it's about the work, it's not about the person doing the work. We're in a new world of work where leaders have to absolutely take ownership of how they act and behave because they are setting up that culture. They're establishing the behavioral ground rules for that organization. And this is what is going to get acted out. Now, I'm very glad I wasn't Bobo the Doll in that experiment, honestly. It really took a beating. But, when leaders, actually ignore people's needs for relationships, friendships, their need to be challenged and to grow, to actually actively, consciously nurture and grow them and let them know that they matter, that they're more than their job, that they're a human being who has goals and aspirations. This is what really retains people and keeps them because people are leaving their bosses and they should be intentionally establishing a culture. They should be building it intentionally. They should be thinking about what they say, and their actions should confirm what they say. People aren't going to do what you say, but if you say, "Hey, we're going to build a very caring culture," they're going to notice when it doesn't happen,
Right,
right? But saying, we're going to care about one another, and this is going to be a great place," doesn't make it a caring place. It does nothing except
right.
set an expectation. So the expectations have to be met. And that means you've got to act, act out the culture and then talk about the fact that you're doing certain things so people become aware of why it matters. Very
Yes.
important.
Yes, thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for that comment. That it is very true. When people have these expectations that their leaders are caring, that they have their back, the last thing you want to do is deflate that person by not following through, by not being caring, by having all of these engagement sessions, but never following through on anything, never allowing people to see outcomes of how the organization is getting better, how the culture in the organization is getting better. Those things really matter to people. People need to have that sense of belonging where they feel like this organization is for me. I fit in here. These people are my people. Everybody is looking for their place where they feel like they can thrive and they belong. And so that's what people are looking for in their organization. And when you don't find that, or when you find organizations that are in this kind of perpetual analysis state, then it really starts to cause people to look internally and say, is this really the place for me?
Hmm.
So people really need to have that connection with their organization. It's not like it used to be. My parents went to work and they did their jobs. That's what was expected of them. And nobody really expected there to be personal relationships at work. It was almost taboo. But now it's expected that we have personal relationships at work, that we have a connection, a social connection with the people that we work with. If you think about it, you're spending, 8.5+ hours with this group of people every day. So you want to have some connection with people. You want to have some way to feel like, this is a family.
Hmm.
Whether we like it or not, we're there a lot of the day and sometimes even on the weekends. So this is a de facto family for all
It
intents
is.
and purposes.
It
Yeah.
is. Hey, Sherry, welcome. So good to see you. Um, yeah, I know you've left several other positions due to poor leadership. People without a doubt, want that sense of belonging. And we did a whole series on belonging, and what the biological roots of that are. And at the end of the day, when you really look at it, certain things are emotions and certain things are feelings. Belonging is a feeling. It's a feeling you get from all of the things that are happening around you, whether people care about, whether you're included or accepted. Certain things are real emotions like fear. You're afraid, and adrenaline starts to go through your blood, and your muscles tighten up. That's an emotion. These things are feelings that evolve based on all the things happening around you, and you'll get that, maybe this just isn't the place for me feeling, and you'll see a lot of confirmatory behaviors. So, and that is the lack of leaders understanding how to use human emotion to create a workplace that people want to put down roots and stay.
Yes. And we're looking at this from a social experiment with a doll. So Bobo the doll is getting knocked around, he's getting pushed around. One guy pulls out or a little boy pulls out a hammer, and then he's got a gun, a toy gun. And for the
Yeah.
record, that was a toy gun. It was not a real gun. But, just he's really roughing up the doll. When we think about that, we don't necessarily see, someone coming into the workplace with a hammer beating people up. But what we do see is people coming into the organization, and you may have language that's inappropriate, or you may have people yelling and screaming in the
Yeah.
office, or, just having an all out meltdown. So, those behaviors are the things that you see, that aggressive behavior that you'll see people doing in the workplace. Those are the same types of things. So the person may not come in and beat people with a hammer, but it's the way that they're responding. They are not being very collaborative. They are hoarding information. They don't want to share. All of those are symptoms of an environment that does not have a really good culture. And so that's what we see play out with adults in the workplace. And that's really how this relates to this whole experiment. So I just wanted to connect that dot for everybody just in case.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the most powerful tools that leaders don't consciously use. They should consciously be setting the example and making sure people understand that, these are the norms that we're all going to embrace, and they should act out those norms that create an environment people want to stay in.
Yes.
And yeah, this is biology, and it's happening. And if it's happening unintentionally, the results usually aren't good. And then you get the great resignation,
Right.
without a doubt.
We've all left relationships, just different organizations that we
Mhm.
might have been a part of, or different groups or churches, or, this holds true in every aspect of your life. Everybody is looking for that place where they fit. And so within the workplace, people are doing the same thing. And when you don't feel like you fit, you start to wander around looking for that place where you fit. And so these are tools. Frank is exactly right. These are tools that you can use in your workplace to help your team gel together and become that solid foundation that you can build a very strong organization on.
Mhm.
Difficult to be in an organization where the foundation is shaky and the people aren't getting along well, they're not working well together. We used to have a lot of focus and emphasis on team building activities,
Mhm.
and I don't really hear that as much as I used to in the past, but team building is very important. It's important to have people focus on things, not just the work, but being able to focus on things outside of work to make those connections because it just makes the flow of work much smoother.
Yeah. And, it's underlying all this is a set of human emotional needs. They vary by person, but everybody, for the most part, in any workplace has achievement needs. Some people have big achievement needs, some have less, but they have them. And, people leave companies when they have a lot of ideas. No one wants to listen to them. One company recently, their top sales guy left because he's making a lot of suggestions. No one ever cared or wanted to implement any of them. It was the number one guy. And his achievement needs weren't being met. He's making a fortune. He's like, no, I'm not happy here. No one cares about what I have to contribute other than just getting a sale. So it's interesting. These things do play out in a very real way in companies, and it's the lack of human understanding, right? The lack of those competencies that is really corroding so many cultures and creating such a waste of human capital. It's just terrible.
Right. And it's slowing down innovation and creativity all the way
Yeah.
around. Things just move slower when you're avoiding people that you don't want to work with because you don't the experience is not a pleasant one. So you avoid that person. You wait till the last minute, to the
Mhm.
last possible minute to talk to them or ask them a question to get information from them. You know it's going to be a hassle, so you don't want to do it. Like all of those things are just signals that there's something wrong with the culture in this group. And once you can start to pinpoint those problems, you can identify ways to improve, then it just makes things flow so much smoother.
Mhm. And, I think it's great. Every week we're going to go through some aspect of the biology of leadership or neuroscience of leadership. We're really glad that you were able to come and join us today.
Yeah.
Stephanie, Cecily, Sherry, Shunta, thank you for joining. And I know there's others out there that didn't comment. And yeah, Sherry, you're right. Money is nice. Happiness and support is better. Makes a difference for most. Absolutely. Once
Yeah.
people have money and their, survival needs are being met, they're comfortable. It's so much more about, them fulfilling their goals and aspirations, whatever achievement drives they have, things they see themselves doing, having influence so that achievement drive gets met, finding meaning, being empowered because they're trusted to actually deliver. These things really make people motivated,
Yes. It
and it
absolutely
is affecting the morale.
yeah,
No
it
doubt about it.
absolutely does. It
Yeah,
absolutely affects morale. People
yeah,
are they're less motivated. So then you get to this place where you don't want to be there and you're just going through the motions. You're doing the least amount of work possible. You're just barely showing up on time. Like your motivation is completely gone.
yeah. So, Tara, we're almost at 20 minutes. We try to keep these relatively short. Do you want to pull up the takeaways?
Yes, let's do that. I'd almost forgot
Yeah.
about it this week.
Yeah, I'm usually the one forgetting, right? You're reminding me.
Yeah. So these are some of the things that we want you guys to focus on. And remember, so someone is always watching. We've heard that term before, Big Brother is watching. But what are you showing people? What are you showing people as an individual contributor and as a leader? So even if you're not a leader, as an individual contributor, you are still showing something to your team. So what are you showing them? Think about that. Spend some time reflecting on that. And then culture is a leadership mirror. What is your reflection? So we've talked about this
Mhm.
before. The leaders have to own the culture, and the leadership is reflecting something on the people. So what are you reflecting on people? What are they seeing? And what do you want them to see? So your move next to think about it. Reflect on what is it that you're showing everybody on your team and what is it that you want to show them so
Yeah.
that people can have a better image and that the team can actually thrive.
It's interesting. The cover of our culture assessment is your leadership reflection. That's really exactly what it is. So it's very interesting, but it's just so true.
Yes.
Um, I think you should join us next week if you can. We're going to be looking at the power of kind of social conformance and how powerful that is, and it's all of these examples and how they have deeper influence across the organization because humans want to fit in. So we'll take a look at that. we'll look at, kind of a fun little experiment that was run, and I think everybody will get a laugh out of it, but it's true. And each one of these episodes is to give you another window into becoming that great leader who can
Yes,
use every one of these things as a tool, or take the managers that work for you if you have leaders under you, and even pull up, Bobo the Doll and say, "Why does this matter?" Don't tell them the answer. Just say, "Hey, we're gonna watch this. Why does this matter? Why do I even bring this up in a meeting?" And see what they say. Are they smart enough to figure it out?
yes, yes. Thank you, Dan, for the compliment. We appreciate your
Thank
support.
you, Dan. Yep.
And so many of you are commenting and subscribing, liking our content. Please continue to do that. It really means a lot to us.
Yeah.
The
It'd be
different,
great if you could follow People Productive Inc. You'll
yeah,
see it in LinkedIn, because we do send an invite out to everybody who follows People Productive, and we'd love to have you as a follower. So if you could
yes,
just go on LinkedIn, go over to that page, People Productive, follow, that'd be dynamite. Thank you.
yes. Thank you so much for your support.
Yeah, and look, we look forward to having you next week. We're going to be live every Wednesday at 3. This is deep training over a period of time. You can learn all the science behind this, and we hope you're loving it.
Yes, yes.
So
Thank you.
take care. Thank you
Bye
so
for
much. All right, bye.